Since the SUV took over the world, it's cars like this that are now the default setting for a family car. But there's still plenty of choice. This year we've got the Tiguan 7-seater, the sensible practical choice, the Hyundai Santa Fe. There's a Peugeot 5008, and it wouldn't be the first time Europe sprung a surprise on us. And then there's a pair of Mazdas, the reigning champ, the CX-9, and its new little brother, the turbo diesel CX-8, which is a little bit smaller, but undercuts its big brother by thousands. And we love a good family feud.
While Drive's Car of the Year deliberations always involved judging the cars on their own merits against the criteria, every now and then we get a judging category that closely resembles a conventional comparison test. In 2018, the family SUV judging was that category. The smaller Mazda immediately drew criticism for the look and feel of its interior. Shiny, slippery seat facings and a narrow cabin. It's also noisy on the move, and the ride can be very sharp on broken edges and potholes.
The CX-8, or should I say CX-5L, doesn't really look like it fits in the family. It's so obviously a stepsister and not part of the whole team. And it drives that way as well, and that's a little bit of a shame in Mazda's current lineup.
But if a budget price tag and diesel power is on your agenda, and it is for a lot of buyers, then the CX-8 will definitely make a few shortlists. It's just that it wasn't quite polished enough in this company. That placed the CX-8 in 5th position in this family-oriented category with 12 points from a possible 35. Volkswagen has tried to maximise the Tiguan's driver appeal by giving it fairly firm springs and dampers. That translates to a car that wants to go around corners, but has also made the ride pretty busy on the typical patchy bitumen that most of us see day to day. Our judges also raised questions over the car's true credentials as a proper 7-seater. But the Volkswagen's all-wheel drive will definitely prove a bonus for some buyers.
The Allspace brings the same great attributes as the regular Tiguan, but it extends its practicality with those 2 extra seats. However, it really is for only occasional use.
Ultimately, the Tiguan was good enough to score just a single point more than the CX-8, with 13 points out of 35. The judges were impressed with the way the Peugeot had managed to pack so much SUV onto a compact footprint. In fact, the physically smaller 5008 is more than a match for the Tiguan in terms of its third-row space and accommodation. The interior, though, while novel and inviting, won't suit all shapes and sizes of driver. Some found the dashboard was way beyond their sightline, and the tiny steering wheel really takes some getting used to. When it comes to European engines, small is beautiful, purely for stretching every expensive litre of fuel as far as it will go. The 5008's engine is smooth and willing, but it does feel the weight of a full load on board.
Well, the Peugeot 5008's interior really tickles the artistic part of the brain with a really nicely executed interior. It might have one of the smaller engines here in this group, but it still drives really well.
Despite all that novelty and fun factor, the highest the Peugeot could manage was 3rd, with 18 points from 35. If you're the enthusiast driver in the family, then you'll probably plump for the CX-9 Mazda. The large capacity turbocharged petrol engine really delivers. There's a huge amount of performance on tap thanks to 170 kilowatts of power and lots of boosted torque. And the handling is among the sportiest of this lot. Despite that, the bigger Mazda also provided the closest thing to a plush ride of any of these vehicles.
The Mazda CX-9 is a big deal. It's one of the brand's best cars in the modern era. Plus, it's absolutely huge. It's a genuine 7-seater that you could really use for families all the time. It's also really polished on the road and brings plenty of equipment.
In fact, it was only really pipped for top spot for its relative thirst and the clever packaging of just one other vehicle. And after hours of thrashing it out, the judges decided that that margin was just 2 points, with 30 points out of a possible 35.
A family SUV has to be more than just a good drive. It has to be practical, it has to be safe, and it has to be well made and polished. And the Santa Fe is.
In the final vote count, the Santa Fe squeaked in with a tiny majority and 32 points out of 35. Once you get rolling in the Santa Fe, you realise that it's not just the practicality and the quality of the interior that makes a difference to this car. The seats are actually beautiful. Front seats are very supportive, not too firm, not too soft, and the rear seats nicely sculpted, so it's going to hold the kids in place. It's not going to stop them fighting, but it's going to hold them in place. Most people would be hard-pressed to pick the Santa Fe's engine as a diesel in the first place, but it is, so it's relaxed and frugal, and that will mean a lot to family car buyers. So that interior attention to detail does translate to the rest of the car, I'm happy to say. a lot of car makers have gone away from the idea of a turbo diesel, particularly in the wake of Volkswagen's Dieselgate scandal of a few years ago. But good on Hyundai for sticking with the concept, because the 2.2 litre turbo diesel in this car, and we've seen this engine before, it's not a new engine by any means, but it's relaxed and it's effortless and it's super torquey and it does the job beautifully. Even though it doesn't rev that hard, it's got an 8-speed gearbox, so when it starts to run out of puff, it just feeds itself another gear and away you go. This is a car that you can drive interstate in a day, no problem, at the freeway speed limit with a full load of people and their luggage, up a hill, into a headwind, doesn't matter. It can do the job, and that's what family cars need to be these days, as well as all the other things, the practicality, the quality build, the nice feel. It's a good looking car even. You wouldn't be ashamed to have it in the driveway, unlike a lot of SUVs over the years, let's be honest. And for all those reasons, this car, the Hyundai Santa Fe, drives 2018 Family SUV of the Year.
So what do you think? Give us your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to drive.com.au for more videos.